The National Register of Historic Places is a federal program that's meant to recognize and document the places that are important culturally to not just a nationwide level, but it can be at the state of North Dakota and it can be local. Grand Forks has a long aviation history. Basically, the first air show that came up to Grand Forks was in 1910, and immediately the community was enamored of aviation. The municipal airport that we're talking about was actually started and established in 1928. They started first with a grass field and getting it prepped and all the small planes. The very next year, they started a flight school training pilots. And then the 1930s were, of course, the Depression, and there were a lot of what we call the New Deal programs, federal programs that were meant to try to put dollars into people's pockets. The city of Grand Forks actually was able to win several approvals under those programs to further build out the airport. The construction started in 1941. It ultimately was finished in 1943 because they did a lot of the physical construction first, but they didn't finish all of the plumbing and electrical until 1943. Aviation kind of had a typology already for its administration buildings, where you wanted a long, low building with a taller center portion, and that's how a plane looks. The particular style of this building is called streamlined modern, which was about horizontal lines and curves on corners and very limited ornamentation. This particular shot is closer up so you can really see that curve where they built it out in brick. But what they did for a small pattern is along the top here, just little portions where they turn the bricks so they're upright instead of horizontal. That's called soldier bricks. So the sheet metal is newer, but that actually was part of the original building. That volume was the same. Even though it looks a little newer, that's actually historic. So they used the horizontal lines here like they did for the other windows, but they only did a short piece. So it has the elements to tie it together, but because they didn't extend it, it actually emphasizes the vertical portion with this being taller. And that's one of those things that you have to be careful of when you choose materials. Are people going to be fooled that it either is historic or it's not? Using things that weren't available during the historic period can sometimes cause confusion that people think it's an addition when it really wasn't. The airport closed in 1964, and then it served as a police station until 1977. Then it became a combination of travel agency and residential apartments, and that's actually what it still functions as today. One of the reasons Grand Forks is so good for training pilots and still today has one of the top aviation universities is because of the weather conditions. We can have very warm temperatures, we can have very cold temperatures. You really can train for a lot of different scenarios that you might encompass as you're flying all over the world. If you want to learn more about this particular place or any other place listed in the National Register, we have copies of all the nominations, and we can get you the when, the how, the why, and you can certainly take a look and learn some more.